Okay, so this is a quick training on how to perform under pressure. If you hear my dog snoring, it's because he's asleep on my lap, but I wanted to make sure to do this training and make sure to send it to you so that you get value from this. And I hope that it helps you. I'm Philip Brady. I go by Vitamin P Coaching, which is really around your physiology, and it underpins everything got to do with your performance. And so I really want you to understand some of those components about your physiology, how it affects your ability to show up and perform under pressure, but also some other kind of tips and strategies that I hope are helpful to you. So one of the things that's really important to understand is around stress and how stress is relative and it's subjective. Relative means really it's very different, the amount of stress that we can tolerate, and individually across anybody that you know, you will be able to experience and tolerate and perform under very different levels of stress. Some people can handle an awful lot, other people have a tolerance for a lot less. But if we start left to right here, so this is performance versus pressure, your performance will actually not be that high when the stress is not that high. You'll actually be in this kind of bored state. So there's not enough pressure or challenge in the system. If you were to quote Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, this really relates to flow. You're not yet challenged enough to develop the skills or to have your skills tested. When you start increasing pressure left to right, you start moving up into this, what's called like the ideal zone, but actually the technical term is eustress, EUSTRESS, and it's a certain type of stress that actually helps your performance. So not enough stress or pressure will not help your performance. Enough will improve your performance. Too much will actually burn you out and strain you. So this is where you're going to burn out. You're going to lose and fatigue. You're going to kind of be overwhelmed by certain things. This is not where we want to be, but we don't need to stay there. So this is just to give you a grounding in stress being relative. And when we can comprehend that and kind of pay attention to it, it absolutely will help us make sense of the pressure of the situation or the test that we're under, what's going on in our bodies, but also that a certain amount of stress is useful and will help your performance. So it's really important as well to have a clear goal for how you want to feel, how you want the result to show up at the end. For example, the person that I actually walked through this with previously was doing a driving test for a kind of like transport company in Northern Ireland. So they wanted to pass the test because it was on their path to being able to become an instructor and train other trainees into how to drive the buses or the trains. So this was their goal. Do this and then be able to be an instructor and help other people through that. So that was their goal. But the goal specifically was on the day of the test to be calm, confident, and focused. So when you're really clear on what you want rather than what you don't want, you will develop in the direction that you're looking. So it's really useful to develop into the positive, what you actually want rather than what you don't want. So that's why coming up with that clear goal of what you want to feel, to experience, to show up like will make a massive difference to your performance as well. So what's your goal? What's this challenge that you're looking to perform well in? Is it a presentation? Maybe you want to do like a TedX. Maybe you want to present in front of your peers. Maybe it's leaders that you're looking to do a presentation in front of. Whatever that is, get a really clear idea of it, what that looks like done well, and that'll give you something to hold in your mind to focus on. So then we move into not technical definitions, but this is a really simple model. It's so helpful to understand what actually creates your state. So your state is the way that your body and mind is set up in the moment. This is a really basic model, but it's kind of helpful just to ground us in some of this. So physiology, focus, and language. With physiology is how do you want to feel in your body? Calm, maybe confident, but also excited. And I'll talk about excited in a second. With focus, what do you want to focus on? Again, you develop in the direction that you're looking. So what's that good result at the end of your performance? Getting clear on that in your mind will make a massive difference in your state so that you hold that and hold your attention on that. And then the language is really around the words we use to describe ourselves, other people, and the opportunity or the situation in front of you. But the opposite of that would be, how do you not want to feel? So again, you can imagine this first version is going to create a state of maybe more resourceful, maybe more open to the situation and the opportunity, all that kind of different stuff. With this, we're flipping to the negative of what you might not want versus what you want. So what do you not want to feel? Maybe you don't want to feel nervous. And the difference between nerves and excitement is literally the label. The emotion or the signal from your body is literally the same. Sweaty palms, tightness of chest, maybe a tickling in your stomach or a butterfly feeling in your stomach. Going for a roller coaster, you would call that excitement. Going into a test, you would call it nerves. Same emotion, different label. So again, the words we use and the feelings that we describe our body experiencing make a massive difference in how we come across. What do you not want to focus on? So for example, when you're being tested or when you're in situations that are challenging, you might not want to focus on your fears, about your doubts, about any times that in the past it went not good, any things that could go wrong, what might happen, all that kind of what ifs. But also then as well with language, again, the words we use to describe ourselves, other people and the situations around us, what words best describe the feelings that you don't want? Like the language is going to be more disempowering. I'm not sure I can do that. I'm not capable of it. Any of those kind of things. Instead, it's to choose again the language, the physiology and the focus and hold that in our mind and in our bodies so that we can show up to the challenge at our best and at the best opportunity to be able to encounter that opportunity. So at a deeper physiological level, let's go a little bit deeper, right? More or less, there's two nervous systems. One is sympathetic, which is fight, flight, freeze. One is parasympathetic, which is rest, digest. When you are in a stressed state, and I'll show you this in a little bit more detail again, but let's say stressed versus happy. Stressed is like sympathetic nervous system. If you look at that heart rate signal, it's very chaotic. So if that heart rate signal is chaotic coming up to your body or from your body into your mind and into your being, well, it's going to have a very like a patchy signal to your body. So it's not going to make it feel that good. Versus on the other hand, look at the smoothness of the signal of happy. So literally these are heart rate scans that show the difference of being in a happy state versus a stressed state. The impact it has on our physiology is profound. And again, imagine showing up happy, coherent. You could say that this is coherent to a challenge or a situation. It makes a massive difference. If we go one level, again, deeper into the brain science as well, more or less, when we're stressed or when we experience a test, our brains actually fire the amygdala. So that's the reptilian part of our brains, the most basic, the most like close to what takes in your senses is, your amygdala. So it's closest to the top of your spinal cord. So it takes in through your senses first, and it goes, is this a threat or not? More or less, its literally intent is only to keep you alive. So everything it perceives as a potential threat, like a test, like a presentation in front of people, it will be firing. So one of the things that we want to do is calm that down, because otherwise what happens is our prefrontal cortex, which is at the front of our brains, will not switch on because the amygdala is on and spots a threat. If that's true, literally this is where people get stage fright, or you get to a situation and you can't remember what you were going to say. That's because the amygdala is focusing on survival, not on thinking or remembering or any of that kind of stuff. It's literally focused on what's the threat immediately in front of me. And I can show you this again on what it does literally to your vision. Your vision on the left under threat will narrow. So your pupils dilate and you will go to what's this immediate thing in front of me, rather than on the right, it's this parasympathetic, it's this rest, digest, like I'm more opening to the situation in front of me. And again, you're going to experience one or the other very differently, depending on the nervous system or the physiological state that you're in. Left is sympathetic, again, survival, focus, narrow, everything's a threat. We need to narrow and focus on this immediate solution to threat. So you'll focus on negatives more often. On the right-hand side, this is parasympathetic, rest and digest. You're more open, you can relax, you're kind of thinking about opportunities very differently. So again, when you encounter a stressful situation, left will be triggered. But when I show you some of the tools that will help you move to the parasympathetic, you'll encounter and meet that kind of test or situation that's pressure very differently. So again, left to right here is no cortisol to stress or cortisol in your system, elevated cortisol in your system. That's a more negative state. Bottom to top is a relaxed state, so low heart rate. On top is more excited state or more adrenaline in your system, so it's a higher heart rate. Typically, when we're stressed in a test or anything like that that's going to put us under pressure, presentation, all that kind of stuff, we'll get two things: a combination of cortisol increased, heart rate increased. This puts us into that kind of anxious, anger, frustrated type state. If we were to lower our heart rate, we'd actually feel apathy, so like we didn't care. We're bored, we're detached. What we want to do is move to the left-hand side and be more passionate, determined, focused, curious. Again, that openness, right? It's very different. So the way to go from the right-hand side and the top down towards bottom left, or at least the left of this line, literally is a breathing technique. So breathing will regulate your nervous system. When you breathe in, you are triggering sympathetic, right? So if you want to feel more focused, literally what you do is increase your inhale. If you want to feel more grounded or calm or dial up parasympathetic, you just extend the exhale. So the way to move from right to left here and lower stress is to balance your breathing. 4 in, 4 out, 5 in, 5 out, same rhythm in, same rhythm out. It will put you in a coherent state, is what it's called, where you're grounded in your physiology, and your physiology then gives the signal to your brain, safe, perform. And you will lower the effect that those stressful kind of curve that I showed at the start, you will move to the left, where the stress that could have been overwhelming or give you stage fright will actually move to a place where you're using the stress as a boost to your performance. Breathing, so simple, but it makes a massive difference. And this physiologically is why. The other thing is ahead of, so I've done a TedX, I've spoken to leadership teams around the world, I've done presentations to hundreds of people. So I'm used to under pressure situations or situations that cause stress in my system. But I manage my energy very carefully. I manage my physiology very carefully in the run up to these things. So this is a really simple model, but there's 3 types of energy that you have: mental, physical, and emotional. With mental, it's really that your brain can comprehend or do a certain amount of work per day and per week. If you go over that, it needs to recover. The way to recover it is there's a couple of things. One could be like scheduled downtime and boredom. So times when there's no inputs, no phone, no immediate emails to respond to, any of that kind of alerts, notifications, that kind of thing. That's one. Walk in nature will actually allow your brain to settle and kind of like declutter, like going to inbox 0 or tabs, all tabs open. It allows those to close. Physical energy is really around where we don't even honor our body's basic needs for hydration, fresh air, fuel, good quality fuel rather than sugar, enough coffee, but not too much. Those kind of things can help your physical energy, but also so can movement. We negate our body's need to move and to express and to be open. So that denies our physical energy. So again, there are ways to top it up. Emotional energy is really just, typically we push emotions away and say bad emotion, cannot be nervous, I'm an awful person. Instead, it's to tune into those emotions, tap into what the lesson is that they're trying to share, and then be able to hold that a little bit longer so that the emotions get to serve the purpose, which is really just to inform you or give you a signal to take an action. Like if anger, well, then your standards have been broken. You or the other person need to be communicated or live up to those standards, or you need to soften them. So anger is an action signal. It's not a bad emotion. There's information there. When we listen into and honor those emotions, we can get the energy that they are. Emotions are just emotion, energy in motion. When we channel it rather than store it, it makes a massive difference to our energy. So one other kind of simple tool and technique that you can use ahead of a situation you need to be under pressure or tested or you have a presentation to do is really find ways that top up your energy. So what tops up your energy? Is it certain people? Is it coffee? Is it different things like that? Maybe it's experiences, maybe it's creativity, like novelty, so new experiences. Do more of those things, right? That's going to give you more energy. Excuse me. What drains your energy? This again could be people or things or tasks or whatever that looks like. Do less of those. If you do less of what takes away your energy, more of what gives you energy, literally the output is more energy in your system. So tune into that as well. It's a really simple exercise. Literally draw on a page 2 boxes. On the left, what takes it away. On the right, what tops up your energy. Do less off the left, more off the right. Hopefully that helps. And the other way to reframe this is any test, any situation that is challenging or where you need to perform under pressure. Pressure for too long is not a good thing. In your system and your body, it's not healthy to hold stress too long. Gabor Mate talks about this when the body says no, and we've been overloaded with stress, and it's just not good for our bodies. So stress on its own is not a bad thing. No recovery, so as in this rest on the right-hand side, is what leads to growth. Growth is stress plus recovery or rest. When you get that balance right, the growth will be exponential. What happens is we burn out, and so we get only stress. We don't even treat ourselves or honor ourselves with the recovery. So there are a couple of things that I hope are helpful to help you understand, but also be able to perform under pressure by understanding a little bit about stress, a little bit about the physiology, some techniques that will help your energy be channeled, but also be conserved or dialed up in the right kind of state. Let me know, though. I'd love to hear your feedback, if that was useful, if it was interesting, and any questions that I can answer. These are typically some of the things that I help some of my coaching clients with: more energy to lead, to grow, to go for promotion, present in public, to lead other people, to be able to show up authentically and with confidence. So I hope you enjoy, and appreciate you taking the time to watch this.